January 18, 2024. Good day all. This is a message from Sierra Victor. We continue with psychological operations tactics, techniques, and procedures as from FM 3-05.301 of the United States Army, written in 2003 as backbone, but we supplement our program with other sources as we continue. Sierra Victor side note, in order to protect yourself against PSYOPS, it is necessary to understand PSYOPS. This manual covers PSYOPS in the military context, but as indicated in the index in our introduction message, we will cover unconventional battlefields later in the program. It would be unwise to exclude conventional battlefield environments, as with the current world political climate, South Africa might become a strategic target for international players if a conflict in the Northern Hemisphere escalates to a world war. Let's continue. Chapter 1. PSYOP as a contributor to information operations, or IO for short. Just as IO can enhance and facilitate PSYOP, PSYOP can contribute to the achievement of a supported commander's IO objectives. PSYOP support IO by influencing foreign populations by expressing information subjectively to change attitudes and behavior and to obtain compliance or non-interference. Providing feedback on the effectiveness of IO activities. PSYOP personnel can collect information in the performance of assigned duties that, although not specifically related to PSYOP, may indicate effectiveness in another aspect of a supported command's IO plan. For example, an IO objective may be to gain the confidence and trust of the local populace. PSYOP personnel might observe civilians within a joint operations area, JOA, or an area of responsibility, OUR, using own or coalition medical facilities, rather than those provided by an adversary or competing force. This preference may indicate that the civilians trust own or coalition forces for medical care, rather than trust the adversary for that care. Conducting PSYOP to support the commander's IO objectives. For example, an IO objective may include denying certain frequencies to adversaries. PSYOP platforms can broadcast on these frequencies and effectively deny their use to adversaries, amplifying the effect of IO efforts. Sierra Victor side note, PSYOPs must not be confused with intelligence operations. PSYOP and PSYOP personnel with their own command structure and executing component is a separate specialized unit within own forces. Cross-exchange of personnel might happen, but as a rule do not. However, these two components work closely together. PSYOPs uses intelligence from the intelligence component, and in return assist the intelligence component in facilitating desired effects on the battlefield. PSYOP and IO are mutually supportive and beneficial. Each enhances the other's capability and mission effectiveness. Full integration and synergy of PSYOP and IO activities must occur to maximize their effect. This synergy of activities ensures consistency of message and optimizes credibility. Because of its complexity and inherent risks, PSYOP must be planned, conducted, and represented on staffs by PSYOP personnel. Additionally, because PSYOP are the commander's voice to approve TAS in the JOA, PSYOP require routine and direct access to the commander. Ideas, thoughts, and messages disseminated by PSYOP forces include nuances whose impacts know no borders and know no end. Direct access to the supported commander ensures that his intent for PSYOP is not diluted in translation by coordinating staff officers or staff members, and that he is aware of the impact of such ideas, thoughts, and messages within his JOA or OUR on planned operations. PSYOP increase the relative combat power of friendly forces and adversely affect the combat power of the adversary. PSYOP accomplish this result by targeting the identified vulnerabilities of foreign audiences through the employment of the PSYOP development process. Chapter 2, Command and Control of PSYOP Forces. This chapter in the manual explains the roles, functions, and line of communication between officers, NCOs and the Chief of Staff or battalion commanders. In summary, a PSYOPS officer must have regular contact with commanders and be included in strategic, operational, and tactical planning of the combat effort. NCOs are responsible for the execution of the PSYOPS programs. We will continue with Appendix A of the manual. Appendix A, PSYOP and the targeting process. This appendix discusses the targeting process. To be effective, PSYOP planners must understand the targeting and coordination process. They should also have an effective means of expressing their ideas so that non-PSYOP personnel can understand and apply them to their own planning processes. Targeting is the process of selecting targets and determining the appropriate response to them, taking into account operational requirements and force capabilities. Targeting and joint fires are intended to delay, disrupt, divert, or destroy the enemy's military potential throughout the depth of the area of operations. PSYOP targeting is perhaps the single most important element of PSYOP planning. Its role is especially critical in making the PSYOP plan relevant to the other elements of the Joint Task Force. PSYOP targeting synchronizes the PSYOP plan with the overall OP plan, or operational plan, of the supported commander and, if properly formatted, gives the other planners something concrete on which to link. To maintain a common frame of reference, PSYOP planners must use the same terminology used by the other planners with whom they work. The target categories are links, connections, human or mechanical/electronic, between nodes. Nodes, key centers of power and influence, human or mechanical/electronic. Human factors, intelligence, attitudes, emotions, beliefs, values, morality, personality, and so on. Weapon systems, primarily mechanical systems, however, a weapon system could be human, for example, a suicide bomber. Databases, computer data, software and hardware, and electronic media. A critical node is an element, position, or communications entity whose disruption or destruction would immediately degrade an adversary's abilities. A vulnerable node is one that is susceptible to PSYOP attack, is a realistic target, and is accessible by means at the JTF's disposal or means available to others that the JTF understands and can access. A PSYOP target will most likely need to be a demonstrably critical node to warrant the apportionment of a JTF commander's assets to attack it. Targets are further characterized as HVTs and HPTs. An HVT is critical to the success of the enemy's mission. An HPT is critical to the success of the friendly unit's mission. Figure A1 is an example of a PSYOP targeting matrix. The first block of the targeting matrix assigns a number to the target. Any number of PSYOPS can be executed against the same target. The second block assigns a priority to the target, based upon the supported commander's guidance and an analysis of the top. The third block is simply a yes or no answer for HVT or HPT criteria. The fourth block identifies the type of target to be attacked, link, node, human factor, weapon system, or database. The fifth block expresses briefly the priority intelligence needed to determine the attack guidance. For example, will interceptor pilots fly in response to cross-border air operations? In this case, the target would be the interceptor pilots. The sixth block is the trigger or the event that would cause the JPOT to execute PSYOP fires against the target. In this example, the trigger could be the increased activity of the ground support personnel at the interceptor air base. The seventh block describes the PSYOP itself, such as a leaflet drop to a denied area. The eighth block shows the attack guidance derived from a TAA and a mission analysis. In the example of the air base, for instance, analysis of the TA might show that leaflets would be the proper medium for communicating the desired message. A mission analysis might indicate that because of the air defense threat, only fast-moving aircraft would be capable of reaching the target, so the attack guidance would be PDU-5/B leaflet bombs. The ninth block is the source of feedback once the PSYOP has been executed. In the example of the air base, a good source of feedback would be reconnaissance photos of the airfield during the days following the leaflet drop. The 10th block describes the desired effect of the PSYOP, such as reduced activity of ground support personnel at the airfield and a decreased likelihood of sorties in the near term. Thank you for listening or reading this message. In our next message we will continue with Appendix A, PSYOP and the targeting process. Please feel free to use and distribute as needed. Our messages are not by any means enticing you to a revolution of sorts, but rather to equip you with the necessary theoretical background in order to assist local armed forces or police in stabilizing a SHTF situation. Please contact any admin on any Sierra Victor group for our previous material or search for our channel on YouTube. We wish you well. Sierra Victor.